things.
In a quiet village nestled among rolling hills, where the morning smelled of wet soil and firewood, and where everyone knew everyone's business before sunrise, there lived a man named Kiprono. Kiprono was known for many things. He was hardworking. He was strong. He was the kind of man who could fix a broken fence, calm a stubborn cow, and make a group of old men laugh until they coughed. But Kiprono also had a habit that followed him like a shadow. He loved alcohol. At first, people did not think much of it. In the village, a man taking a drink now and then was not shocking. A little local brew during celebrations, a bottle shared after a good harvest, a cup with friends after market day. These things were ordinary. But for Kiprono, it stopped being ordinary a long time ago. He drank when he was happy. He drank when he was worried. He drank when he was tired. And worst of all, he drank when no one was watching. His wife, Chebet, had watched this habit grow slowly over the years. She was a patient woman, the kind who knew when to speak and when silence was more powerful than words. She had warned him many times. "Kiprono," she would say, "one day this thing will embarrass you." But Kiprono would laugh. "My wife, you worry too much. I am in control." That is what every man says before the habit begins to control him. One season, after weeks of headaches, dizziness, chest discomfort, and sleepless nights, Kiprono finally went to see the doctor at the nearby health center. The doctor examined him carefully, then removed his glasses and looked him straight in the eye. "Kiprono," he said, "if you do not stop drinking, your body will force you to stop in a way you will not enjoy." Kiprono tried to smile, but the doctor did not smile back. "This is serious," the doctor continued. "Your blood pressure is too high. Your body is already under stress. If you keep going like this, you may not live long enough to enjoy the life you are working so hard to build." Those words shook him. For the first time in a long while, Kiprono felt fear. He returned home that evening unusually quiet. He sat outside with Chebet and told her what the doctor had said. Chebet listened without interrupting. Then she asked softly, "So, will you stop?" Kiprono nodded. "Yes, I will stop." And for 3 days, he did. On the 4th day, he convinced himself that one drink would do no harm. 1 became 2. 2 became several. Soon he was drinking again, only now he was doing it in secret. He no longer came home openly smelling of alcohol if he could help it. He started chewing herbs, washing his mouth, staying out until dark, and inventing excuses. If Chebet asked where he had been, there was always an answer ready. "I was helping repair a tractor. I was at a village meeting. I was searching for someone's lost goat. I was delayed at the market." But lies, no matter how neatly dressed, still smell like lies. Chebet noticed everything. She noticed that village meetings now smelled like strong brew. She noticed that missing goats somehow always delayed him near the drinking den. She noticed that every time he laughed too loudly for no reason, his eyes looked a little too red. One evening, when he returned home swaying just slightly, Chebet stepped closer and sniffed the air. "Kiprono," she said, "your cough smells alcoholic." He froze. No, I used mouthwash." Chebet raised an eyebrow. "Mouthwash made from fermented maize?" Kiprono looked away. "It is herbal," Chebet almost laughed, but instead she simply nodded and said, "I see." And from that day on, she stopped arguing. She stopped warning. She stopped lecturing. That was what frightened the ancestors. Because when a wise woman stops talking, it usually means she has started thinking. Chebet knew that if she confronted Kiprono directly, he would deny everything. If she cried, he might pity her for one evening and drink again the next day. If she begged, he would promise change and break that promise before the moon turned. So she chose another path. She decided to teach her husband a lesson so strange, so unforgettable, that even the smell of alcohol would one day make him nervous. The next Monday morning, Kiprono woke up and found that one of his slippers was missing. He searched under the bed. He checked behind the door. He looked near the cooking stones. Nothing. Only one slipper remained. Chebet looked genuinely surprised. "My goodness! Your slipper has disappeared?" Kiprono grumbled. "This is not funny." Chebet shrugged. "Perhaps it is tired of walking with a drunk man." He glared at her, but he had no time to argue. He left home wearing one slipper and one old sandal, while children on the road laughed so hard they bent over. The next morning, both slippers were back in their proper place. Kiprono stared at them in confusion. "I searched here yesterday," he muttered. Chebet only replied, "Maybe yesterday your eyes were also drinking." Kiprono frowned, but he said nothing. 2 days later, something else vanished. His toothbrush. In its place, standing proudly in his cup, was a cooking spoon. Kiprono blinked several times. "What is this?" Chebet entered at that moment and looked at the cup. "Oh," she said calmly, "perhaps your toothbrush found a better job." "This is serious," Kiprono snapped. He turned the house upside down looking for it. He searched the bedroom, the kitchen, outside near the water pot, even behind the chicken coop. He found nothing. That evening, after he returned from yet another secret drink, the toothbrush reappeared, perfectly clean, inside the chicken coop. Now he was unsettled. The missing slipper might have been carelessness, but the toothbrush, that was different. Still, he continued drinking. A few days later, every shirt in the wardrobe was hanging inside out. Every single one. Kiprono stared at them, then called Chebet. "Did you do this?" She looked puzzled. "Do what?" "My shirts." "What about them?" "They are all inside out." Chebet gasped theatrically. "Oh dear. Kiprono, have you been forgetting things lately?" He felt his stomach tighten. "What do you mean?" She lowered her voice as if afraid to say too much. "You have been acting strangely. Yesterday, you asked me who stole our roof." Kiprono laughed nervously. "I never said that." Chebet tilted her head. "You did. But if you do not remember, that worries me even more." From that moment, a small seed of fear was planted in Kiprono's heart. And fear, once planted, grows very quickly in a guilty man. The strange happenings continued. The family photographs were turned upside down. His favorite chair disappeared from the sitting area and was later found hanging from a mango tree. His socks appeared in the cooking pot. The sugar and salt changed places. His hat kept showing up on different scarecrows around the farm. Each time, Chebet reacted with just enough concern to make everything worse. "Kiprono, maybe you are overworking. Kiprono, maybe your mind is tired. Kiprono, maybe the doctor was warning you about more than your body. Now he began to panic. At first, he tried to ignore it. Then he tried to drink through it. But drinking made it worse. One afternoon, after sneaking away to the local brew den, he came home, and the family chicken attacked him for no reason. It chased him around the compound, while children screamed with laughter. "Chebet!" he shouted. "This chicken is possessed!" Chebet ran outside, pretending to be alarmed. "What did you do to it?" "Nothing!" She folded her arms. "That is strange. Yesterday, you apologized to it." Kiprono froze. "I apologized to a chicken?" Chebet nodded seriously. "Yes, you called it your former mathematics teacher." The children nearby burst into laughter. Kiprono felt cold all over. That night, for the first time, he skipped alcohol. Nothing unusual happened. The next day, he drank again. By sunset, confusion returned. That was when Chebet knew the lesson was working. But she was not working alone. Quietly, she had recruited helpers. Her sister, her cousins, 2 trusted neighbors, old Mama Cherono, who loved drama more than she loved sleep. Even a few children helped, mostly because they found the whole thing hilarious. Soon, the entire village became part of the performance. When Kiprono greeted people, they answered strangely. One neighbor said, "Kiprono, did we not already discuss this yesterday?" Kiprono blinked. "Discuss what?" The man shook his head sadly. "Ah, you have forgotten again." Another woman told him, "Thank you for returning my donkey." "I never borrowed your donkey," Kiprono protested. The woman stared in surprise. "You mean you do not remember the 2 goats and the broken basket?" "What goats? What basket?" She walked away muttering, "This is serious." Each encounter chipped away at his confidence. Soon, Kiprono no longer trusted his own memory. He began questioning everything. Did I say that? Did I do that? Did I move that chair? Did I hang those shirts that way? Did I really greet a chicken like a teacher? The fear followed him everywhere. At last, unable to bear it, he returned to the doctor. The doctor examined him again and said, "Your body seems slightly better. Have you stopped drinking?" Kiprono hesitated. "Mostly." The doctor leaned back. "Mostly is not the same as yes." Kiprono lowered his voice. "Doctor, I think I may be losing my mind." The doctor frowned. "Why?" Kiprono swallowed hard. "My things are moving. Photographs turn themselves upside down. My toothbrush hides in chicken houses. My bed disappears. People say I do things I do not remember." The doctor was silent for a moment. Then he asked one question. "When these things happen, have you been drinking?" Kiprono looked away. The doctor sighed. "Your body whispers before it screams. You are still ignoring the warning." Kiprono left more troubled than ever. But even then, he was not fully ready to stop. That evening, he passed by the drinking den. The owner waved him over. "Just 1 cup." Kiprono hesitated. Then he went in. That night was the worst of all. After stumbling home and collapsing into bed, he woke at midnight to a whisper. "Kiprono." He sat upright, heart pounding. Who had called him? He looked around the dark room. Nothing. Then again. Kiprono. He shook Chebet awake. Did you hear that? Hear what? She asked sleepily. Someone called my name. Chebet stared into the darkness, then slowly pulled her blanket closer. My husband, she whispered. Perhaps not every voice comes from outside us. That sentence nearly finished him. The next morning, he found a note in his pocket. Stop lying. Another note was under his pillow. Your body remembers every drink. A third note inside his hat read, Truth is lighter than guilt. Kiprono's hands trembled. He went outside and sat beneath the mango tree. For the first time in many months, he did not feel like a stubborn man. He felt like a frightened child. Mama Chirono happened to pass by carrying firewood. Without even looking directly at him, she said, A guilty conscience can make even the wind sound like judgment. Then she kept walking. Kiprono stared after her in terror. How did everyone know? How much had he revealed while drunk? How long had he been disgracing himself? That evening, he did not drink. Nothing happened. The next day, he did not drink. Still, nothing happened. The slippers stayed in place. The chair remained indoors. The chicken looked innocent. The photographs behaved themselves. A week passed. For the first time in a long while, Kiprono's mind felt clear, and with clarity came shame. One quiet evening, as the sun sank and crickets began their song, Kiprono sat beside Chebet outside their home. For several minutes, they said nothing. Then he spoke. Chebet, I have something to confess. She turned to him gently. I lied to you. I know, she said. He looked up in surprise. I did not stop drinking after the doctor warned me. I know. I sneaked out. I made excuses. I hid bottles. I even tried to make you doubt your own nose. Chebet nodded. I know. Kiprono's eyes filled. I was ashamed. Her voice softened. That is why I did what I did. He frowned. What do you mean? For a moment, Chebet tried to stay serious. But then she burst into laughter. Deep, unstoppable laughter. The kind that bends the body and brings tears to the eyes. Kiprono stared at her. What is funny? When she finally caught her breath, Chebet confessed everything. The missing slipper, the toothbrush, the upside-down photographs, the chair in the tree, the swapped sugar and salt, the chicken, the notes, the whispers, the neighbors, Mama Chirono's dramatic timing. All of it. Kiprono sat frozen. You mean all this time? Chebet nodded through laughter. Yes. The bed disappearing too? My cousins carried it. The chicken? I fed it each time you came home drunk. The villagers knew? Almost all of them. Kiprono covered his face. For one long moment, he did not know whether to feel offended, humiliated, or amazed. Then suddenly, he began to laugh. He laughed until tears rolled down his cheeks. He laughed because he had been fooled. He laughed because the lesson had worked. He laughed because beneath all the tricks was a truth he could no longer deny. His wife had not embarrassed him because she hated him. She had frightened him because she loved him. Finally, Kiprono took Chebet's hands and said, You saved me. From that day forward, Kiprono truly stopped drinking. The first weeks were not easy. Some evenings, The path to the drinking den seemed to call his name. But then he would remember the moving slippers, the haunted toothbrush, the attacking chicken, the whispers in the dark. And more than anything, he remembered the terror of no longer trusting his own mind. Slowly, his strength returned. The headaches faded. His sleep improved. His laughter came back. He worked better on the farm. He spoke more kindly, and little by little, the man Chebet had married began to return. When he visited the doctor months later, the doctor smiled. "Kiprono, I hardly recognize you." Kiprono grinned and replied, "Doctor, your medicine was strong, but my wife's medicine was stronger." And that became a favorite story in the village. Whenever men gathered and joked too confidently about drink, someone would mention Kiprono, and Kiprono himself would say, "If your wife starts acting quiet, stop misbehaving immediately." People would laugh, but hidden inside the laughter was wisdom. Because sometimes the people who love us most do not fight us with anger. Sometimes they fight for us with patience, courage, and a lesson we can never forget. So if you ever think your bad habits are secret, remember this. A lie may hide in the mouth, but truth always leaves footprints. And in a village, those footprints are never invisible.